And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Cool, bro, cool, bro, cool, bro. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Melinda and I just dropped a brand new episode. You can check, go ahead, check it out right now. It is, of course, the Pop Culture Cosmos. We cover Baby Reindeer on Netflix. Also, we take care of The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and to speculate on how well it will do. Plus, Melinda herself analyzes the big hits of the summer box office season to decide which will be a hit and which will not. Plus, TJ Johnson stops by to talk the troubles at Xbox this week. Lots going on there. So please check it out, the Pop Culture Cosmos, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, as well, of course, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Joe Soro, he is Mr. Simblades at simblades.com. And also, of course, Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. Our good friends, the Lakerholics crew of Jamie Sweet, Laker Tom, maybe even L Rob will be here tomorrow at noon Pacific, right here on the Lakers Fast Break. So go ahead and check out what they're doing at Lakerholics.com. Also, as well, of course, John Costa, he may be doing a show tomorrow as well. So go ahead and check him out here and check out his channels, Lakers Corner and Clutch Talk. Also, of course, we may be doing something special on playback, like tomorrow's game, Oklahoma City and Dallas. We'll go ahead and have that live. If you want to go ahead and join us for the chat, please do so. Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. Great suggestion by Laker Nick, as always. So we will go ahead and, for selected games during the NBA playoff season, we'll be doing that on playback as well. Plus, also, of course, our good friends, Lakers in 5, Emperor Jeff TV. Of course, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, Yo, and John McCaley channel. Please support all these great channels. And of course, give us the big subscribe, give us the big like, the share, the follow, whatever you can do to help us out, because it's greatly appreciated. Because please, we need all the help we can get, because Cool Bro keeps on giving us headaches, but we love him nonetheless. Of course, right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. So that's why we need all your help, just to help us alleviate all the stress that Cool Bro gives to us. But it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us. Great early game with the Indiana Pacers pacing themselves in that fourth quarter and pulling away at the very end ahead of the MASH unit known as the New York Knicks, 111-106. New York still leads the series 2-1, but very spirited contest in Indiana. And the Denver Nuggets on the road in Minnesota in Game 3. Looks like the extra few days of rest have done them well, as they've formulated a game plan that's been very effective in allowing to get open looks for Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray, for the first time in the playoffs, has looked like Jamal Murray. And when doing so, they are taking a commanding 109-81 lead right now, late in the fourth. So it looks like it's going to be 2-1 Minnesota. So we'll see what happens for Game 4 in Minnesota. And again, we'll go ahead and be on playback for selected NBA playoff games, to join us there as well. So again, it is the Lakers Fast Break, but we've got our own issues here. Yes, I know Mike Budenholzer signed immediately the day after Frank Vogel got fired. Looks like they had a management plan in place on exactly who they wanted to get as soon as they fired Vogel. But again, whether or not you think Vogel's a scapegoat, at least they had a plan in mind. And obviously they have an owner that's willing to spend a ton of cash. Wonder what's that? What I really wonder what that is like, but okay, we'll just deal with it, move on. But one of the things we got to concern ourselves, of course, this summer, which I have to educate Cool Bro on because he's absolutely clueless once again, is the fact that D'Angelo Russell has a player option for this summer, meaning he has until June 29th to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to bypass the $18 million left on my final year of my contract and become a free agent. Cool, bro. When it comes to the Lakers, yes, you don't listen to what we say. You don't listen to what we tell you. Everybody in the chat knows that we have said numerous times that he can make himself available for free agency. So, if that's the case, what is he going to do? And should it be a priority for the Lakers to retain his services? We've heard what Joe has said about making him a priority for this season, for next season. But the thing is it a possibility? Is it realistic? Or would it be necessary to try and see if you can facilitate a sign and trade so he can sign some big money elsewhere, but at least you can get something back in return? The variables are out there because the teams that might be interested in him are out there as well. Cool, bro. You do not know more about the Lakers than Joe, and we'll just leave it at that. But here today to go ahead and discuss D'Angelo Russell's status as a pending free agent, because he does have the option to walk away from his contract, is a good man indeed. He is the madman from Toronto. He might have stayed in Toronto traffic to go ahead and drive around through it like Mario Andretti. That's what he did. He is, of course, the madman from Toronto. It is, of course, Sean Grice, the Magic Man, although I should call him for right now Mr. Sean Andretti. And Sean, great to have you here, my friend. Zooming around the streets of Toronto, from what I've heard about in the rumorville, but D'Angelo Russell is possibly a free agent. Again, he has that choice, and most likely after his regular season, he will take upon it to do so, looking for greener pastures. Will those greener pastures be here in Los Angeles, or will they be somewhere else? No mic, my friend. No volume on your mic. I thought I had you there, but again, no mic as of yet. So, yep, because you're not on mute. So, all right, we're getting off to a good start. Thought I had you. So, you're going to fix that. Oh, can you hear me now? No. Okay. All right. And on that note, it is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Sean Grice is here. He's trying to fix his volume as we speak. It is, of course, D'Angelo Russell on the minds of many, because Joe, I will say, has made him a priority. And in doing so, because the fact the Lakers need to retain him, if not only just to secure the fact that they have a possible trade chip down the line for the next season, because if you do sign him to a contract, he would become eligible in December or January. I'm not sure which at that point, but he would become eligible for trade at that point in time. Frank, great to have you here. Congratulations on the 1-1 game. We'll be going ahead and being, I guess, on playback. We'll go ahead and have the game on there for everybody as far as the chat and scoreboard is concerned. But Frank is asking how big of loss if D'Lo leaves. So, Sean, are you with me, my friend?
I can hear you, Gerald.
Yes, Sean Andretti is back. All right, Magic Man Sean Andretti Grice is here. Okay, Jeff Gordon, my friend. But it is good back to have you here. And Frank is asking, how big of a loss if D'Lo leaves?
From Gerald, from like just a strictly accounting perspective, I understand what Joe and other Laker fans are saying, but why the hell would Joe want a Sanford and Son trade for D'Lo? Because it'd just be trading salvageable parts for salvageable parts, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but on the surface, D'Lo is who he is. He's not gonna turn. He's not gonna. There aren't magic beans that are gonna turn D'Lo into something that he isn't. And I don't know where Joe gets this idea from. That, well, if you let him walk or you don't re-sign him, you lose that salary cap space and you can't replace it. Yeah. So and what?
Well, the thing is, though, first off, he does have the ability again to make himself a free agent by the end of June, and go ahead and offer his services to the highest bidder.
Right, cool, and bro. To that, I would retort, Joe, as the starting point guard for the Lakers, D'Lo's record is 1-8 in the past 9 playoff games. So you're
And I think
playing with
that's
five.
for every person that does agree with Joe, you come along and say otherwise because of, even though his regular season production has been good, his playoff performance has been mixed at best.
At best, I would say it's been his playoff um, performance is mid,
Well,
mid.
2 of 5 games, he only produced at a level that you could say, it would be satisfactory, i.e., above 20 points a game. The other 3 games in the Denver series, he unfortunately did not bring it. And that's something I think is a big concern, especially the fact he doesn't give you much on the defensive end. And that's something I think the Lakers have to put in mind. But also, he himself, what does he want with many teams out there, such as the Magic, such as the Sixers, such as New Orleans, such as San Antonio? All of these individual places have possible openings for him. They have
Mhm.
cap space waiting for him if they choose to go ahead and offer him something. The Magic and San Antonio are two of the leading candidates for individuals such as him, a good shooting point guard who can handle the ball, but have defensive, I guess, strengths on both of these teams that could make up for much of the fact that he can't do a lot for you on the defensive end. Kubro, his performance in the playoffs was mid at
Yeah,
best.
I,
Look at the box scores, Kubro. Look at the
I,
box scores, Kubro.
absolutely, Gerald. And when you look at, and it's true, all those options are available on the surface. If you really dig down deep into the weeds, he's not really a good fit beside Tyrese Maxey, either being his shooting guard, off guard, or coming off the bench. I don't think that's a good mix.
But
Um,
in the world of the Magic,
mhm.
Orlando Magic,
I think he's an upgrade over Markel Fultz, Gerald, 100%. As far as
absolutely.
outside shooting goes
Mhm.
and being able to distribute a little bit, yes, he outshines Markel Fultz, and I think Mosley can with Jalen Suggs beside him. I think you can hide him defensively. Um, Perhaps you get exposed in a 7 game series, but for a regular season run, Gerald, I think he's an upgrade over Fultz, and it makes the Magic a better team. I agree there. Cleveland, that be intriguing. Him coming off the bench, but I don't see a good fit beside
You would
Spida
want a
or
starting position.
yeah. There's no way you're starting over Spida or Darius Garland. Sorry, D'Lo. I would.
Well, Mitchell, again, we don't know if he's going to stay with Cleveland. We'll find that out. The more they advance or the more they play competitively against Boston might obviously sway that decision. So
And
we'll
not
see.
not only that, Gerald, the further the New York Knicks go, the less the less it's likely that he is tied to the Knicks. Because there's no way the Knicks as a franchise, both Worldwide West and Tom Thibodeau would be willing to sacrifice where they got to with this group for Spida Mitchell. Because I don't think he would put them over the top. I think you would need a little bit more oomph, especially in the front court, because I already have Jalen Brunson. I mean, up until tonight, he has scored 40 points in 4 straight playoff games. Not even the great Bernard King did that for the Knicks. So, I mean, if I'm the Knicks, I'm saying, Spida, if you want to come to the Knicks, that's fine. But I mean, you're not taking precedent over Jalen Brunson. You're not taking precedent over Josh Hart and the Villanova triplets. Um, we've got good chemistry, but I mean that's a Knicks thing too, Gerald. I mean they could instantly decide to make a bold move like that and just destroy the chemistry that they create. They've done it before. We've seen them do it before. So, I Gerald's not incorrect there. It's not above or beneath the Knicks to try to destroy internal chemistry for headlines. I mean, I live in Toronto, for goodness sakes. They do it almost every year.
Well, again, it seems to be very decidedly mixed in regards to whether or not we would like to keep D'Angelo Russell. We won't have that choice ultimately, Magic Man, because he is a free agent
Mhm.
and he can sign elsewhere. And a lot of these teams, or not a lot of teams, but some of these teams will have premium cap space. If Trey Young is an option to Orlando, he may be an option for them. If Trey Young or another point guard is not an option in San Antonio, he may be an option for them. And they may be willing to pay 20, 22, 25, maybe even more just to
Yeah.
get him.
hmm Yeah, and again, Joe brings this up, and I've heard other Laker fans bring it up too. Again, the decision is up to D'Lo. It's not up to the Lakers at all. It's up to D'Lo. D'Lo has all the leverage in this situation. The Lakers have zippity doo dah, and if he decides to exercise that player option, what are you going to do? Are you really going to make the mistake of re-signing him to, you know, a 3 or 4 year bloated contract that you may or may not be able to trade? I mean, just because you get him on the books doesn't necessarily equate to you being able to move him as easily. It's easy to give him the money. It's a lot harder to trade him. I know this that a lot of people don't want to look at both sides of it. They just want to look at the Lakers side of it. But it's so easy to throw buckets of money at D'Lo, and then it's a lot harder to trade him because he is a niche player, Gerald. You and I have talked about this. He is a niche player. He meshes in certain situations, but not in most situations. It would take a really ideal situation for him to be in order to be a productive player.
Alice, it's technically, I mean, any contract in the league is tradable once they become eligible. For instance, like last season, we could not trade Jared Vanderbilt or Anthony Davis because of when they signed. So they were not eligible to trade during the course of the season. But technically, if you're talking about during the summer here, any contract is tradable as far as is concerned. But D'Angelo becomes a free agent most likely. He's going to opt out of the final $18 million on his final year of his contract and become a free agent. So he will be able to dictate where he wants to go and for how much. The question is, if the Lakers want to go ahead and pony up beyond $20 million a year for him, he's obviously proven he cannot be a good number 3 for you. So you're talking about probably a player that's your number 4 or number 5 option. And if that's the case, is he worth substantially over the $20 million or more that he might be making per year?
No, he's not. When you look at other teams and their options at the fourth spot, you could argue Nuggets. The Nuggets have Michael Porter. You could slot Michael Porter Jr. or Aaron Gordon as their fourth best player, which either suits your fancy. Is D'Lo equivalent to either of those players, Gerald?
I mean, obviously, we're seeing right now the answer is no.
Mm-mm. When you look at a team like the Boston Celtics, their fourth best player would be, you could argue, Derek White. Is
Right now,
D'Lo
Derek White is playing pretty damn good right
is
now.
D'Lo yeah, is D'Lo equivalent to a Derek White? I don't think so.
No, he's not.
No.
And that's part of the problem is how do you value properly what D'Angelo Russell can give to you on the team? Alice, just because he set the regular season record for threes for Lakers, it doesn't help you in the playoffs. You have to understand, Alice, it's all about matchups. It's all about what you give and what you do during the crucial moments of the season. D'Angelo Russell, 2 years in a row, was not able to give us what we need as a guy we were hoping would be a number 3 on this team. It's clear that he cannot handle or be available to be that guy as a number 3, as a number 4 or number 5 player that you're not quite counting on as much. There you go. Absolutely. Somebody we can consider, but you're paying over $20 million a year because most likely he will get those offers of $20 million a year plus from other teams in this offseason.
100%, Gerald, and that's also the beast of the burden with him is that it, continuously from his original time with the Lakers to going to Brooklyn to going to Minnesota to going to Golden State back to the Lakers. I'm sorry, I had the Wolves and the Golden State reverse there, but that being said, he he's just not who you think he is. You can't ask him to be more than what he is. You can only ask him to do so much. Can't ask him to do more than he can do. You can't ask him to do sacrifice either because he's not willing to do that. He is who he is. He wants to be that 22, 5, and 5 guy. And you might get that during the regular season, but you don't get that during the playoffs. You don't get that kind of same consistent production. And quite frankly, Gerald, how many game-winning shots does he have in the playoffs? And that's not a trick question. 0.
Mm-hmm.
0. He's also, to be fair to everybody out there, he's also not clutch. The Lakers need clutch from the guard position more so than in any other area in the playoffs. You need a clutch shot maker in the playoffs. He is not that guy.
Well, he hasn't proven it in the course of 2 seasons as of yet. He did his only really consistent time was in that. Actually, wasn't even consistent. He gave you batches in the Memphis series. He wasn't even consistent throughout that series. If you check, he would be like, for instance, one of the games right out of after halftime, he gave you like a surge, a D'Angelo Russell
3 or
surge.
4.
Yeah, great game 3 or 4 where he gave you a big surge coming out of the locker room. Otherwise, he was struggling at periods of times during that series as well. He is a hot and cold player. And when he's hot, absolutely, he's great to have around. But the fact is, he's just not been able to prove it consistently and get schemed out by other teams when it comes to playoff matchups. And that's very important. It's great that he's got the Los Angeles Lakers record for 3-pointers during the regular season. But as the guy that you're counting on for number 3, you really need to step it up and get it to another level in the playoffs consistently. And he's not been able to do that. So
no,
it's just
yeah, Gerald, I was gonna aptly put, and I was just gonna say that the other important thing to note here is pace. If you look at the pace of play in the playoffs, the fact of the matter is the floor shrinks, and D'Lo is not very good in telephone booths and one-on-one situations. Even for somebody who's 6'5" and a little gangly, he doesn't have the chops to be that clutch player when the floor shrinks. You need somebody like that. Everybody saw what Spider was able to do in that 7-game series against Orlando, Gerald. Everybody saw what Jamal Murray could do against us in the first round. We've seen it from Steph Curry. We've seen it from Bruce Brown. We've seen it from Derek White. There are certain guys, certain guards that are able to make plays either for themselves or others when the floor shrinks. He can't do that either.
So I ask you, my friend, again, I understand that Joe's side of things because you treat it as asset management 101. So if you do sign him, okay, because he's going to go out and try and get the best bid he can and try and get the biggest bid and biggest offer that he can out there once he becomes a free agent at the end of June/July 1st of this year, Sean. So if that's the case, you're going to try and sign him probably 24, 25 million. He becomes, you hope, a valuable trade chip at that point in time, because at $25 million a year, let's just say he goes for that price. That's a very expensive D'Angelo Russell to have, in my opinion. It's just really hard to see him giving you that value back for what you're asking for him to do.
Yeah, Gerald, it would. Oh my God, like it'd be almost reminiscent of what again, different sport, but I'm using an example here. It would almost be what the Atlanta Falcons have done with their asset allocation and salary cap allocation. You're giving a large portion of resources that are very, very non-renewable. Okay, you have so much money you can spend. Even if you think that, well, if you don't sign D'Lo, you lose him for nothing, and you can't get the salary cap back. So what?
Now, for me,
In the big
again,
scheme of things, because what you're doing is the same thing the Atlanta Falcons are doing. You have only so much resource in the salary cap, and you're going to allocate that, a large portion of that, to a player who hasn't proven himself in the playoffs. And the Lakers value championships. They value deep playoff runs. They don't give a crap about great regular seasons, ladies and gentlemen. They just don't. They just don't. I mean, the Lakers made a move about 20, almost 25 years ago, Gerald, that I did not like. I did not approve of it. It was trading Eddie Jones for Glenn Rice. That's what you did. Remember that, Gerald?
I do.
And Glenn Rice was supposed to be the third guy, right, Gerald?
Yep.
After Kobe and Shaq. And Glenn Rice, while doing his darndest, and we all appreciate Glenn Rice because he helped us win, he wasn't Phil Jackson's cup of tea, Gerald. And Glenn Rice didn't like the triangle very much. And Glenn Rice is only here a year.
I'm just going to say right now, again, I don't think you're going to get any type of hometown discount from D'Angelo Russell, Sean. I mean, he's already dealt with this company. That's already dealt with this organization twice, and I don't think if he continues to stay with us here, it's going to be for a contract that he's going to ask for a lot of people to bid on. He's going to ask for a lot of teams to bid on, such as, again, I mentioned the Magic, I mentioned the Spurs. There might be other players who want, or other teams in the mix that might be interested in his services. He's just not a guy who you're going to pay $25 million a year. That's what I'm guessing is what he'll end up most likely being, offered as far as it's concerned. If he gets that, you're also talking about, by that time, you're already over the second apron. If you're the Lakers, most likely, or getting close to it, you'll be paying quite a bit of taxes upon that as well. So again, JSJ, so funny. But I will ask you this, Magic Man. Again, we might not have a choice because we don't have great alternatives if we lose D'Lo. But the thing is, having D'Lo as your number 3 obviously has shown everyone so far after 2 seasons, it's just not going to work.
No, it's not, Gerald.
If he's your number 3, now if he's your number 4 or your number 5, and you can find individuals that can step up to the plate, okay, we're talking. But again, as your number 3, it's just not going to work.
It's not going to work. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'd rather just let Austin Reeves have the majority of D'Lo's possessions. Even if we lose him for nothing, I think we can count on Austin. Austin gives it a go every game he's in there, and his defensive lapses, which everybody has. Lord knows he has them. It's not, as me and Gerald have talked about, it's not for a lack of want or trying. It's just there are deficiencies that he has that teams take advantage of. And the big issue is that when you can't play D'Lo and Austin together either, Gerald. We saw that it clear as day. It is not a good mix between those two. They both have serious flaws defensively, And it's not as if they have the same flaws. They're very different flaws defensively, and teams just take advantage of that. It's like peanut butter and jelly when a great guard duo sees those two out on the court. They can they can have their lunch, eat their have their cake and eat it too. I'm just I don't have the same strong feelings as other people that you have to sign him just to sign him. But so it's a Sanford and Son deal. Ba-ba-ba-da,
But again,
ba-ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba. That's the theme
what's the
music for
most you'll
signing
pay?
D'Lo.
Because I'm assuming the most I think the Lakers would pay or would probably be around 25 a year would be my
Yeah.
estimate. But
Yes.
let's say the bidding goes higher, then you're hoping, at least you're hoping, if you're saying, you know what, that's too rich for our blood, to try and maybe get something out of it with a sign and trade if the other team wants to go ahead and cooperate with that. That's something, obviously, that's a last resort for D'Angelo Russell, but that is something to consider in case the bidding just gets too high for Genie's blood.
100%, Gerald. And let's say that for some reason you do get in a bidding war with somebody and you do sign him. You want to turn around and trade him if things somehow don't work out. Well, guess what? Teams that were bidding against you or for his services and or other teams have you over a barrel now because they're going to want a sweetener or two attached to a contract like that
Mm-hmm.
because the Minnesota the only way the Timberwolves were able to get rid of Wiggins was the sweeteners. That's how they were able to unload his contract was by giving up the sweeteners. Dude, as Laker fans, you have seen what happens when you make a trade that doesn't work out and you have a leaky boat on top of the situation. Guess what? You're the Titanic. Eventually, the bow breaks in two, and everybody drowns. That's what's at play here. I again, I understand why some Laker fans think that somehow if you sign D'Lo, you're saving your ass from salary cap purgatory. That being said, if he underperforms and you want to trade him, it's going to cost you. It's going to
Remember,
cost you a sweetener or two. And I don't think Joe or other Laker fans have really thought that far ahead. But you
now,
need to. It's
well,
called foresight,
well,
not hindsight.
Jamal,
It's called foresight.
but Jamal has a good comment in there. D'Lo is realistically a 15, $18 million a year player, nothing more, nothing less. I'm not
Yes.
saying I disagree with you on that, but two things come into mind when these guys are going out into the open market, which he will. First thing is he's walking away from an $18 million a year final year salary. So if he leaves that, his agent is pretty sure he can get them something more and get him something for more years. The second thing is as I mentioned it, and I know it's a different team, Sean, but Grayson Allen signing for $17.5 million for a player who isn't asked to do as much for his team as D'Angelo has been asked to do for the Lakers. And they're paying him $17.5 million a year because he can do one thing well, like D'Lo, and shoot the three. So that being said, D'Lo with a little bit better playmaking skills, but they're both of them are not really good on defense. Again, when it comes right down to it, he's going to probably see what went on in Phoenix with what Grayson Allen signed for and say, you know what? I think I'm a better player or a more important player than him. I want more than that.
Yeah, absolutely, Gerald. Because that's a great juxtaposition there. Because, as you said, he has more skill set than a Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen is a grinder, and he's
Well, Frank,
dirty.
it's a good contract for the Suns,
It is.
but the problem is that this sets the bar for every other like player in that stratosphere to say, okay, that's what this guy signs for. If my agent's smart, he's going to be asking and for more, especially if I go out in the open market and I have a marketable skill like a guard that can shoot 40+% from beyond the arc to a team or teams. And again, off the top of my head, I'm thinking Orlando and San Antonio as teams with cap space that are looking for guards that can shoot the three. I would assume that means they're willing to overpay a little bit to get those kind of players, whether it's D'Lo, Trae Young, or whatever guard that they may be interested in that can facilitate that problem for them.
Absolutely. And if you look at it from this perspective, if D'Lo thinks he's say 25 to 30% more the player that Grayson Allen is, and you convert that in dollars or figures, Allen signed for, like Gerald said, 17 and a half over 4. D'Lo is then thinking he's worth 22, 23 a year at most. And I'm with Gerald. I think he's in the 22 to 25 range.
Not that I would pay
Anything
him that,
over,
but that's what
no.
he's probably Pale. He's not going to get a mid-level. He's going to get much more than that.
Oh, he'll get much more than that.
He'll
Yeah.
get much more than that.
Gabe
Pale.
Vincent got the mid-level last summer, and
Yeah,
we know how that turned out.
exactly.
D'Lo's gonna get at least twice what the mid-level is.
But then
And
he could
again,
go higher, and he may be at over. Well, all said and done, he may be overpaid. CJ McCollum. I mean, New Orleans is really, really gritting their teeth about how much they paid him for his services and what he brought or did not bring to them when it came down to crunch time. And with D'Lo, again, he doesn't have the greatest memories in Los Angeles. He was already sent packing once, Magic Man. And this latest stretch here in Los Angeles, he was actually, if you remember, he was actually benched for a time. What was by Ham, who's no longer there, but he doesn't always have the greatest memories of Los Angeles as well.
no, he doesn't, Gerald. He doesn't.
Just saying.
And even if they cut ties with Ham, that doesn't necessarily mean that D'Lo's going to be all forgiving. And
Yeah, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he stays, that he wants to stay. So
yeah, I don't think so either, Gerald. He's probably, and as Gerald said, your agent is in your ear telling you have options outside of the Lakers. I know the Lakers are, in their own universe as far as a basketball community. That being said, you have other options available to you, D'Lo. And on top of that, Gerald, it's a sticky situation because, even if you extended D'Lo, what does that really mean? Again, you don't know what else is out there. It's a sticky situation we have with LeBron James. LeBron James also has a player option that he's going to likely, Gerald, opt out of. And now you have an even stickier situation because we've seen what happens when you surround LeBron James with D'Angelo Russell the past 2 years. Why would anyone out there want to continue in this limbo?
well, let's just put it this way, Magic Man. So let's lowball it for everyone out there. Okay, let's lowball it into maybe more realistic terms. Pale Fox, the mid-level, I don't think he would resign for that. He's going to resign for higher. But let's say it's not the $25 million that, could be out there for him. Again, he's getting paid 18 if he decides to keep it, which he most likely will not. But let's say it's just $20 million. Let's just say it's an incremental bump up on a per year basis. Signs, let's say a 3-year. Let's just say a 3-year, be a little bit conservative. 3 years, $60 million deal, Magic Man. Then you got LeBron, who wants to go ahead and, do what he needs to do. So if he opts out and he resigns, let's just say that's maybe not a 3-year deal. Let's just say it's a 2-year, $100 million deal. Let's just say it's $50 million. Let's say he gives the Lakers a little bit of a discount. That's still $70 million you've added to your payroll. That puts you in that second apron, Magic Man. And now you're paying taxes on every one of those contracts now. You're now getting closer and closer to Golden State, Phoenix territory, which again will hamper the way you can go ahead and maneuver your team going forward.
100%, Gerald. We're getting into bloated territory, and not Chris Farley from SNL as what was his name, Gerald? Matt Brady?
Down the river, yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're getting into Monty Python, bloated, stomach almost exploding.
He lived in a van down by
Down
the
by
river.
the river.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be a bloated contract that would really be a negative at the end of the day, Gerald. It wouldn't even be a sum zero effect because we've seen what D'Angelo Russell brings. He's a fine player. He's an
He has that
NBA
option.
quality player, but he's not an excellent player.
But I'm trying to stress to people, it's not our choice if he wants to stay or go. He has all the control. He can opt out and he can walk for whoever the
If he
highest
wants
bidder
to,
is.
yeah, if he wants to hit a board and launch his parachute, he's gone. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody thinks that the Lakers have strings attached to him. He has all the leverage. If he wants to
Yeah.
hit a board, he's gone.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, if you resign him, and as Alan's saying, it's a lot of offense and zero defense, you have to find somebody that is much better suited to play alongside of him as the starting shooting guard if you're going to keep him there. That's my get as far as that's concerned, because Austin Reeves is best suited as a six man. I think it's abundantly clear. I think if people that wants to go ahead and have him start, fine. Then you can make the D. One of those two, they're good friends. They're the close friends. That's great. But one of those two has to come off the bench for you. Whoever you decide, that's fine. Let LeBron be the point guard. I don't know how you want to shape it out. But the thing is, you have to have one of those two, the D'Angelo, Austin Reeves backcourt in the playoffs. It's just not consistent enough on both ends of the floor to get it done. We've had 2 seasons of this. Ham or no ham, any coach in there or whatnot, it's just a reality what these other teams scheme against a starting backcourt of D'Lo and Reeves. It's just, they're not, it's, effort. Reeves gives you nothing but effort. I got to give 100% props on that. But the problem is, you just, compared to the backcourts that you have now in the second round and going far in the playoffs, they just cannot match up with those guys on both ends of the floor unless one of them is coming off the bench for you.
Yeah, I mean, Gerald, if you wanna put it in like.
And yes, I know that's Joe's reasoning. He wants to sign for asset management 101. I get that. I understand that. And if you're doing that, that's fine. He'll become eligible to trade in December or January, and then you can look for there. But the thing is, again, you're tying up so much of your salary cap to this between LeBron and D'Lo if you do.
100%, Gerald, and you and I have talked about this. Robbing Peter to pay Paul in the backcourt. Great, you signed D'Lo. You think about trading him. If he's underperforming, you're not going to get back what you want. And if he somehow overperforms, guess what? You're not going to get back what you think you should either.
And if
that's
you
not how
resign
this
him,
game works.
well, if you resign him, then you better make sure you put some alongside that can really accentuate,
because if you look at
as far as the strengths and offset the weaknesses that D'Lo has.
D'Lo is like, look at it this way.
Good point, Frank. Excellent point.
we've talked about this before, Gerald. You know, in the NBA playoffs, you've got your Maseratis, you've got your Aston Martins, your Benz, and your Lincolns. Those eventually get you the championship. But you need other cars. You need a Jeep. You need a Hummer. You need a truck. You need certain elements to come together and build a cohesive, chemistry laden team that can win. Austin Reeves is like a Nissan Altima. Gives you a lot of effort. You get a little bit more bang for your buck for about 3/4 of a trip. That being said, the tank empties really fast at the end. He doesn't have the conditioning or the stamina to play 94 by 50 for 43 minutes in the playoffs. He can't do it. Gerald noticed this right away with him uh, in the Memphis series. He can't do it. Um,
But the
try
thing
as
is,
he
though,
might. And then D'Lo, Gerald, to me, D'Lo is a lot like a Honda Civic that needs a new alternator once in a while because the alternator just blows and that car don't run anymore. Uh, Economical, uh, can be consistent, but at times the alternator blows and you don't have a car. And that's the best way to describe him. Gerald put it best: hot and cold. That's what he is. So you've got a hot and cold player combined with another backcourt mate who doesn't have the conditioning or the stamina. And you're putting those two guys out on the court with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and you're expecting diff- this different results with the same group. Einstein had a word for that: insanity.
so I ask you this, and once again, it is the Lakers fast break. It is the Magic Man, Grice, Sean Andretti, because he's been racing around the streets of Toronto, literally. So I'm happy for him that he didn't wrap the car around a turn, and is still here to go ahead and chat about D'Lo. Alice makes a good point, though. So let's say you get outbid and he decides, you know what? I'm a free agent. Orlando. Let's just use Orlando as an example because they have lots of cap space. They need somebody in the backcourt that can shoot the rock a lot better than what they have there. Let's just say he walks without a sign and trade, and Orlando just can sign and loop him into their salary cap just fine without any help from the Lakers. What do you have to replace him? I think it would be either having Gabe become the starting point guard, him all of Mr. 6 games, bad knee, and just a terrible jump shot that was really evident that it's really shaky at this point in time. I know he's a streaky shooter. We always said that on the show, but man, it really looks rough right now if you make him your starting point guard or move LeBron back to the point, which kind of worked out for you in the 2020 season. But then again, you're talking about a guy pushing 40. So your thoughts on what you do if you lose D'Lo, which again brings you back to what Joe's saying for asset management 101. You bite the bullet on the tax and you just say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and bring him on and see what we can do in December, January to work out a trade by the trade deadline.
Oh boy, that Jalen Hood Shafino draft pick was looking better and better, isn't it?
You notice I haven't said anything about JHS, and nor will I until I see it on the court.
Oh yeah. That's another wrinkle in all this is that Gerald brought up gimpy old Gabe Vincent and 39 years old.
Bad knee for Gabe, and a bad back for JHS.
Yeah. Not to
yes,
mention a
charismatic
39-year-old LeBron James who you're squeezing the last juice of athleticism out of. And you've wasted the last 3.5 years, and you're gonna potentially do it again. No, you gotta find um, reconcilable situation here, and quite frankly, the options are not good internally. So that means you have to look outside. And ladies and gentlemen, good guards in the NBA are a lot like defensemen in the NHL, and Gerald knows this. Teams don't trade good defensemen because they're hard to find. They don't grow on trees. Same as good guards. They don't grow on trees. You usually have to tank to end up with a very good to
Or end
transformational
up in
guard,
purgatory,
or
like
end up in
for
purgatory.
instance,
Yes.
Atlanta,
Yes.
who now be looking to trade one or both of their guards currently because of where they're at. Uh, Alice Jade, Alice, JHS is our future. He might be the future South Bay Lakers point guard, but the Lakers point. Come on, Alice, what you saw and what we saw was pretty bad, very bad. He is considered at this point a draft failure, and I'm hoping I'm proven wrong. But the thing is, coming into the season, Magic Man, the thing I said about D'Angelo Russell, he would have to prove this year that he is a NBA level starting point guard. And he did. He proved that. He proved that to everyone out there that he is a starting level point guard. I wasn't sure if he would remain that. There was times early in the season where it didn't look like he was a starting level point guard, but obviously we saw by the end that he is. But the problem is in the playoffs, his defensive issues and other issues, lack of athleticism, things like that, they get exploited by other teams where he becomes in certain cases and just a non-factor at times. And we saw this in 3 of the 5 games in this year's playoffs. So with that being said, again, the question not whether you try to retain D'Lo, I think becomes paramount. The question, and there's again, it's a great question by Alice and others. So you don't get D'Lo. What else do you have, Magic Man? Magic Man, I know you sound firmly on the opposite end of what Joe is saying on whether or not to retain or do what you can to keep D'Lo on this team. But the problem is, okay, Magic Man, let's say you get your way and D'Lo is gone. What are you going to do in return? Who is going to fill the shoes of D'Lo if he's gone?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, Gerald. I
And
think you did.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, it
But
was a joke, Alice. Well, I mean, I was.
well, to
Yeah,
to
okay.
be blunt, we were
My bad,
weren't
Alice. My bad.
we weren't a championship caliber team with D'Lo anyway. So, are you what are you really losing, ladies and gentlemen? Like seriously, what are you really losing if you don't re-sign him? You can't really replace him. So if you weren't a championship caliber team with him, you're certainly not without him. You're you're worse off. And frankly, Gerald, I mean, if LeBron James wants to have his cake and eat it too, he picked
And
the
Avant,
wrong NBA locale. He
but
picked the wrong locale.
Avant is not wrong. Avant is not wrong when he says you might just lose that entire salary slot. You may not lose all of it. You may lose part. You lose a big chunk
Mhm.
of that salary slot if he walks. But again, the Lakers may not have a choice if the bidding gets too high because again, if it's all about timing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the salary cap is going up, not down. It's going up in future years. So teams can spend the money on D'Lo now or other assets and live with the results 2 to 3 years down the road when the salary cap is up and going up, and they can shed that salary or excise it from their salary cap. It like I don't think people are really understanding, Gerald. The salary cap is going this way. It's not going this way. It's going up. And teams can offer D'Lo a bloated contract just like they did with, oh, I don't know, Gerald, Lonzo Ball, Chandler Parsons.
And if let's just say
Festus,
this, let's
Fest,
just say this,
let
pal.
Festus
He's
Ezeli.
marking
Need I
the
go
chat.
on?
He's marking this chat as in case JHS blows up. And again, Pale, because he's arguing for JHS. He's one of the few that's left. And God bless you, Pale Fox, because you are a dying breed of individual that actually supports JHS after what could be said as a failure, straight off the bat. I mean, our expert Stone Hansen said right off the bat how bad he was. We saw right off the bat in summer league how bad he was. We saw during the course of the season how bad he is. Unathletic, very slow of foot, can't shoot, and his passing and rebounding, I'll give you that for his size. It's okay. It's okay. But again, so many factors are weighing against him if he does not improve. And also the fact that he has a back injury at 21 or 20, however, how old is I got to get my ages right because then Rodell sends
No,
me a
I think
nasty
I
email.
think I think he's turning 21. If
He's
I'm not
he,
mistaken.
well, I'll let me go. I'll look it up here in a second because
Anyway,
I get
Gerald,
roasted if I'm a year off.
Oh yeah, for a year off, or
Yes.
we're 30 pounds off, or 4 inches off. God
Yes.
forbid.
Yes, God forbid. Yes.
Anyway,
right. He'll be 21 years of age next month. So that's
boom.
the
See, we know our stuff. Anyway, just goes to show how good Trace Jackson Davis was, and he should have been a higher pick, given the fact that JHS was point guard in college, Gerald.
He's just a bust. He's absolute bust. JHS is a bust. We just have to get him to grips with it. Maxwell Lewis, let's see if he gets any development because right now he looks like a bust as well. Looks like a terrible draft choice. And actually, you know what? Of all the nasty things that Rodell said to us in that letter response after I corrected him, he did say that Castleton is 24. So if Castleton, you don't know at his age at 24 how much more he is going to improve, but we did see what an Austin Reeves did as an older player. So he may have that capability to evolve a little bit more, become possibly a rotation player for the Lakers.
If Pablo Prigioni came
Pale, well, hold on. Pale, yes, the 17th pick in the draft can be considered a bust. There is expectation. There was expectations. And
your first round pick in the NBA, your first round pick.
Especially with Cam Whitmore still on the board, Jaime Jaquez Jr. still on the board, Podziemski still on the board. All these players were wanted by us. We asked for these players. You go back and you talk about that. You go look. You talk about you're marking our conversations. Go mark what we said on trade day on that show. Go look in the archives what we said and who we were asking for. Go look at our initial reactions on JHS. Go look at the initial reactions of what Stone Hansen said on JHS. So before you start marking these conversations now, go mark what was said before. And then you can go ahead and say what you say now. So leave it at that.
Stone's a big animal lover. His face looked like the one you see when you almost see your dog getting hit by a car.
If the new coach really likes D'Lo, Alice, then they're going to try and pay him. They're going to pay, whatever they need to do to get him. They're going to give him an offer that he cannot refuse, and that will be, you're talking, what, at that point, probably over 20, 22, 25. Could he get more? We'll see. Again, it all depends on the other buyers that could be interested in Magic Man. And if I don't see D'Lo as a number one option for a team, but I see him on their board. So let's say a San Antonio or Orlando or whoever needs a shooting guard, good shooting guard, their first options come off the table. He comes on the table. He's right there next on their list. Guess what? They're going to offer him some cash.
Oh yeah, they will. 100%. And good on them. To me, it's not money spent wisely, but hey, a drunken sailor and it's money. Um, yeah, that's to me, Gerald. That's the most realistic option. Is that another team comes into the picture, offers him either the same, maybe a little more than the Lakers do, and he signs with another team. He's
If
shown.
we're
He's
wrong on
shown.
JHS, guess what? He helps the Lakers unless he's traded, of course. And if he's not, then we're right. So we win either way. So isn't that correct, Magic Man?
Yes, yeah, it's a win-win in that situation, Gerald. It's a win-win.
No, you saw Jaime Jaquez Jr. He wasn't going to take LeBron's minutes. He could play. So he could play at the small forward. He played at the
He can
guard. He
play
played
the
at the
three
top.
or the four.
Yeah,
He
you
can
got to
play
watch
either
the
or.
games, Pale Fox. So Jaime Jaquez Jr. was a much better option. We said it at that time.
He
We
played the
also
four with Jimmy Butler on the
we
floor.
were begging for Cam Whitmore at that point in time, Joe and I, because he was falling down in the draft. And look how that turned out. So
Mhm.
because he was
Absolutely,
supposed with
Gerald.
injury or interview issues or injury risk.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
ultimately we got JHS who did nothing for us and was injured. So
I've always kind of found that uh, too over analyzed, Gerald. I mean, Dwayne Wade bombed his workout with the Heat and bombed the interview. They still drafted him, became a Hall of Fame player. I just don't. I gotta be honest, Joe. I think that's more for executives and insiders to, shoot the shoot, and shoots and Googles for all that insider stuff, interviews and how guy preps and all. It's a lot of fluff. A lot of guys bomb interviews and or still go on to great careers. If you could play, you could play, and if you can't, you can't. Cam Whitmore could play the game of basketball. We had Frank the Tank on playback, who had mentioned it's not for not natural talent why Cam Whitmore can't get minutes with Ime Udoka. It's decision making and processing that he needs to work on. It's not his basketball skills, which he has in spades. Uh, and again, everybody saw. A a lot of people thought Podzimski
what
was
an idiot. Pale, hold on here.
sure.
Listen, Pale. I apologize, Magic Man.
No, go ahead
Pale
for it,
Fox
Joe.
is saying you lost it because the fact is Jaime Jaquez Jr. on a team that needs depth. My God, if you had Jaime Jaquez Jr., who's playing a critical role for Miami, now mind you, they lost, of course, but who played extremely well for them during the course of the season, one of the top five, he was the fourth in the Rookie of the Year voting.
Yep.
Wouldn't he play a valuable role coming off the bench for us?
Yes.
25 minutes a game?
Yes.
Get the Torian Prince minutes?
Yes.
There you go. My case
Yes.
is closed. My
Yes.
case is won.
Likely
You
would have
lost
led
it.
to at least a couple, maybe 3 or 4 more victories
Where's he
that
going?
the Lakers would have, and they wouldn't be in the. They wouldn't have been in the seventh spot. They likely would have been in the sixth or fifth.
No, Pale Fox. We said we were wrong. We weren't right on that assessment as far as the deepest team in the league. Obviously, they weren't. They had one of the worst. What us and other analysts said, virtually all these other analysts, after all the moves that they made coming into the season, we all thought they had a very deep team. And obviously, we saw with the Lakers and their output as far as the bench is concerned, that proved not to be the case. So a guy like Jaime Jaquez Jr. would have found his way because as you know, the old saying, talent always rises the crop as far as rises to the top. And if that's the case, he would have found between playing the 2 and the 3 plenty of time on the Lakers. So
The
yeah.
Bible says separate the wheat from the chaff, Gerald, and Jaime Jaquez
I'm
is
not going to
beat.
agree with you on that one, Alan. I think Cam Whitmore is going to be a good scorer in the league. I don't know about defense and all the other things, but he will get you buckets in the league.
He can. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Will he be able to do it on a consistent basis? Another scenario, but it's not for a lack of basketball talent, which that kid has. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, over Cam Reddish. My God, did you see how bad Cam Reddish played?
we're sort of getting off topic here, Gerald. But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is that you need to live with the decisions that you make.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is that Rob Pelinka and the Lakers organization value JHS enough to draft him, and it hasn't worked out. And to Pale Fox, with all due respect, sir, you can go back and listen to what we had to say during the offseason, what other analysts had to say. There was a
We all thought they
there
had a deep
there
bench, and we were wrong.
was a preface, yes, but there was a preface to what we were saying. It was all based on health, and that health was shot to hell at the beginning of the season when the Lakers themselves did not disclose until training camp, Gerald, that Jared Vanderbilt was injured and would be unavailable to start the season. And that started a cascade of problems that the Lakers had to deal with all year.
But then
And
they signed it. But then they signed him. He was so unhealthy. They signed him to what contract? I think it was late October, early November. If I
yeah,
remember.
four
Yeah.
years, $48 million.
Oham would have had no choice but to use Jaime Jaquez again. Now,
You had an injured Jared Vanderbilt, you had an injured Gabe Vincent, you had a struggling Austin Reeves at the beginning of the year. You also had the problem of LeBron James coming into a season where he's 38, turning 39, and you were trying to reduce his minutes, and that happened for one game. And then he had to play 37 minutes for about 3 months straight. And you got lucky that nothing snapped, tore, maybe. But
again,
now all of a sudden, you're back at square one. That's what we're dealing with. Our season is over. We're at square one. Not to get off topic, Gerald, but the fact is that more harm than good will come from signing D'Lo, other than managing a salary cap situation. There's no. I've said this before. I'll say it again. And I would say even if Joe was here, and he likely wouldn't care anyway. Uh, so what? You re-sign D'Lo. There's no guarantee you can trade him. You didn't trade him this year. You couldn't. You didn't trade him this year. We heard nothing about D'Lo in trade speculation, Gerald. Nothing. Now, there were rumors about other players coming to the Lakers for D'Lo, but there were no tangible sources saying that D'Lo was a valued commodity around the NBA. That other teams are sniffing around D'Lo and asking the Lakers about him. That just it wasn't a realistic talking point, and for obvious
mhm,
reasons, there are better options out there than him.
yeah.
That's
Pale
just.
Fox, I'm as cool as a cucumber right now, so I don't know what you're talking about. But
I
again,
mean,
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's all up to D'Lo. D'Lo now has the choice of what he wants to do. And again, if he wants to go ahead and get those offers, he can. And it all depends on what where is he valued by other teams. And I think that ultimately what will come down to it. I think the Lakers will try to resign him. I think just even if it's just for what Joe says, an asset management 101. But when it comes right down to it, again, how much does the rest of the league value D'Angelo Russell, Sean?
uh, yeah, so it's a two-sided answer, Gerald. One is every team values shooting. That is something that you can't have too much of in the NBA.
Mhm.
Same with good defensemen in the NHL playoffs, as Gerald's Vegas Knights had last year.
Oh yeah.
You can't have too much shooting in the NBA. So that is a valuable commodity for sure. And there are teams desperate need of shooting. Gerald's mentioned it: the Atlanta Hawks, the Orlando Magic, Toronto Raptors, Charlotte Hornets. There are a lot of teams that need shooting, but you also have to look at the fact that he is a negative defender. And if you're a bad team, as Gerald mentioned, the Spurs, the Hornets, the Raptors, you really don't care about defense at that point. You're trying to build a competitive squad, and you can live with him being a bad to mid defender versus his shooting, which can win you a few more games rather than shoot you out of it. Like,
Well, I
do you?
hope Jamal's right because he says that no team will pay more than 18 million based on his reputation. Well, he's making 18 million that he's going to be walking away from in his final season. So I'm assuming, and because they never talk behind anybody's back. These agents never communicate with teams at all. They're all on the up and up, right, Sean? It's all cool. It's
Oh
never talked
yeah,
or discussed. Yeah. So if he walks away from that 18 million a year, there's absolutely no way he would not know that he might be making more or he will be making more for more years.
yeah, exactly, Gerald. And if we
Because they never
just
talk, right? They never
Oh
talk.
yeah, they never talk and they never lie to one another.
Yeah.
So let's look at some comparatives here, Gerald. Is D'Angelo Russell a better shooter than RJ Barrett?
Oh yeah.
Better shooter, not scorer. Yes.
Yeah, better shooter. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that
He make
that's
Jared.
statistically not even close.
Yeah, RJ Barrett makes over $23 million. So
Hmm.
let's use that as example. Is he a better shooter than Jordan Clarkson, Gerald?
A better shooter, yes. A scorer, I'd say that. Well, actually, Clarkson is now going on the downside of his career. So,
Yeah.
and
Jordan Clarkson makes over 23 million.
yeah,
How about Terry Rozier, Gerald?
uh,
Is D'Lo a better shooter scorer than Terry Rozier?
well, that's not fair because Terry Rozier signed that deal like 3-4 years ago when it was a different climate. So, I
how
mean,
how about Dylan Brooks, Gerald?
now you're really being mean.
All
Like
these
all it
guys
takes is one. All it takes is
take
one
this one.
Houston
That's it.
Rockets there to overpay you to want to get you on the team, and that's all it takes. So San Antonio has that capability this offseason.
Yes,
Orlando has that
yes,
capability. So all it takes is that one team, Magic Man. If they don't want to pay all the assets, let's say Atlanta wants to give up for, or Atlanta wants for Trae Young or DeJounte Murray or another team, I would just use those as an example. Let's say a Chicago for a Zach LaVine. Let's say they balk at that kind of thing. And oh, D'Lo's a free agent. Let's go ahead and offer him a little bit more than what people will probably expect to pay him
yeah.
in order to get
And
the
and
job done.
Gerald,
That
the
is
only
entirely possible.
absolutely. And let's just say another team is willing to engage you in a sign and trade. It
Mhm.
has to it has to be for the right player and for the right situation. So in that instance, what the Lakers would need is either a comparable guard, either offensively or defensively, preferably somebody with durability, preferably with somebody who can score, and you probably be willing to give up a sweetener for that, or you require either a defensive center that can spell minutes for Anthony Davis and for LeBron while still allowing a bench to be productive. So, two options. If the Cleveland Cavaliers thought enough of D'Angelo Russell to sign and trade for him, let's bring in Jared Allen. Let's bring in Jared. I don't think they do it. I don't think it's possible, but it's a talking point. If he went back to the Brooklyn Nets, a sweetener and deal for Mikal Bridges. Those are the kinds of deals that the Lakers need to look at if you're going to explore trading D'Lo, either a sign and trade or a whatever. You have to try and make the team better, comparably better. It's difficult in the NBA
Well,
to
it's
do
not going to be
this.
easy. I mean, the
It's
Lakers have
difficult,
few.
and
The
we
Lakers
have
don't
it,
have an abundance of options.
and
That's yeah.
we have a boob for a GM.
Mhm.
We have a
Yeah, we do.
boob for a GM who doesn't make smart decisions, who fumbles the bag, and that makes it inherently more difficult, which Gerald has stressed. It's hard to make good trades in the NBA.
And
It's
Allen said
hard.
it best. And Allen said it best. If D'Lo signs, why would he want to sign? Possibly thinking, you know what, they're going to be
They're
trading
gonna
me in
trade
6 months.
me. Yeah. Yeah. So what?
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
at Pale Fox, AR does that too. I agree. AR is a 36% shooter. That's why we just talked about him as a starting guard or D'Lo. You cannot continue to have that backcourt. They one of them is either going to have to be traded for something else or be used as reserved because those two together as your starting backcourt doesn't work out with all they just as much close as they are as friends in real life. They're in the playoffs where it just doesn't work out as far as their strengths and weaknesses don't work well enough with each other and
yeah,
get people.
exactly. If CJ McCollum and Darren and Damian Lillard were Walmart as a backcourt duo, I mean D'Lo and Austin Reeves are Dollarama.
It wouldn't be cash. That's a great question. As we talked about earlier in the show, it wouldn't necessarily handcuff us financially, but if you loop in a LeBron extension on that or a LeBron new contract, because he's also in the same position that D'Lo's in, where he can walk out of the final year of his contract, which he most likely will. If so, you were talking a LeBron and a D'Lo signing, which could very well happen because you want to retain your assets, Magic Man, if at all possible. They will probably have to pay upwards of $75 million per year for both of those individuals, not counting any tax. And I'm just lowballing it there. It could go higher than that. It could go to 80 million or even more for those two individuals.
Yes. Yes. You know, it's tangibly difficult. It's tangibly
I'm not
difficult.
saying he's worth that much, D'Lo is, but I'm just saying the price may go up that high simply because of the teams that are out there that can pay for his services, Magic Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
So I
have to
mean,
be realistic on this.
100%, 100%, exactly. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. You
And I'm
sign.
not saying LeBron should get a maximum here. I'm just saying LeBron, if you know LeBron's situation and you saw LeBron with Jeannie on one arm and Linda Rambis on the other, and the big smile Cheshire cat grin on his face, you understand who has control over
He's
this
got them
entire
over a
situation.
barrel.
Yeah. So he
He's got
can
them
literally
over a
sign
barrel.
for as much as, is allowed, which I think what is 60? Is it 60 million for him?
Yes, yes.
Okay. For
Max
30 years, I
is
think is the
yeah,
max.
yeah. I
Okay.
think it go from 60 to 65, and then I think it goes to 67,
Yeah,
68.
that's so painful to consider that we would pay that for a 40 to 41-year-old. That
Mm-hmm.
again,
Mm-hmm.
it's a realistic possibility out there because of the fact how much LeBron has control
And
over the
it's
Lakers
likely,
organization.
when
164 for 3 years. Thank you, Eric.
yeah, there you go.
It's at
So
54 starting. So okay. So
that's what he's going to sign for.
I mean that's
You're going to see it on the ticker, ladies and gentlemen. You're going
so
to see it on your
if that's
ticker.
what he wants to do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, 3 years.
Oh, the Lakers do not have the leverage, Jamal. No, Braun has all the leverage in this situation. Not the Lakers at all. No.
LeBron can leave the Lakers high and dry like D'Lo can.
Yeah. He can just walk. He can say, I don't want the final year of my contract and just walk and go to the highest bidder. And Philadelphia has how much cap space? 50, coincidentally, 55 million dollars that they can free
Mm,
up with cap space.
mm.
Well,
I
what do
don't.
you know?
I don't think Daryl Morey would put his eggs in one basket like that, but you never know.
But you never know. You
You
never.
never
It's
know.
just again, he has the control, all the control.
All the control, yeah.
Yes.
And quite frankly, Gerald, LeBron is as astute basketball mind as there's
You
ever
tell me,
been.
Alan. You tell me,
And
because
not only that, Gerald, he can read the tea leaves. He can read a room. He's looking around. he sees that the Lakers don't really have a lot of options.
And, and,
So
and Alan's asking another great question. Are the Lakers like the Clippers where they're going to pay for a team that's not a championship level team, that's a tier below? And with
yes,
the brand new arena for the Clippers, guess what? They want those nice pictures of those players, those name players right there so they can flash them on the billboard as you go down the 110 or the 405. Uh, you know what? LeBron, same thing. Genie, they get, we always talk about the salary cap and what a guy like LeBron does, Magic Man, but we don't talk enough about how much revenue LeBron James, the brand, brings into the Lakers organization with sales, auxiliary sales, items, clothing, jersey sales, you name it. His name means a certain level, certain
brand
value.
recognition.
Yeah, that
Yes.
is probably more than whatever it is that you're signing him on a contract. I would assume that just him, just fan interest going to the games. It just, people watching on television. He just means so much financially. I would assume that whatever the Lakers ultimately sign him for, they'll be making more on that investment, whatever it is.
Hmm. Yeah, they will. They will.
And
Um,
I didn't say it was our choice because, again, I'm not in love with the fact that you're going to be signing a player to that kind of contract that's already close to hitting 40. But this is a guy who has a lot more control than us. And D'Lo, he has control of his situation as well. And it all depends on the marketplace. How much does the NBA marketplace value D'Angelo Russell and the 42% behind the arc shooting that he gives? That's
yeah, and I'll say this, Gerald. To be perfectly honest with you, given the money situation, it's I can't believe I'm saying this, but LeBron brings a certain cultural attaché along with the cachet to every NBA arena he brings. That being said, he is a bad defender at this point, Gerald. There's no dancing around the name pole anymore. He is a bad NBA defender.
and
He's
Avant is right. Even if LeBron leaves, they don't have the money to replace per se, all or at least all of it. They won't have all the 40 or 50
Look,
million
it's
dollars that
it's a it's a DefCon 1 situation if you lose if D'Lo decides to walk
and LeBron
and
decides to walk.
LeBron decides to walk, because at that point Anthony Davis does a little look around Gerald and says, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna call my agent right now because we need to have a serious discussion with Rob Pelinka about our options, because there's only one option at this point."
Frank's already got the super team laid out for LeBron, KD, and Curry. One more time, the geriatric team coming out there, rolling them on out.
Oh yeah, it could be good because since they all lost in they all missed lost in the first round or missed the playoffs entirely this year. But put them all together, Gerald,
Was it the
and
first time since 2003? I think that none of them made the second round. That we
yeah,
didn't have a LeBron, KD, or Curry. That's quite a deal. That speaks for itself. That stat right there. I think what I
the
heard the other day.
geezers
I think
are
it's
out and
2003.
the
Yeah,
kids are in the hall, Gerald. The
yeah.
kids have arrived. So that's just the way this goes. And Luca's not walking through the front door anytime soon,
And
and isn't
Pale, if
and
if that's the case, AD would get upset. AD, there's a very good likelihood he says, "Just trade me, just
just
trade me." If
trade me.
if LeBron and D'Lo walk, this could go south. But the thing is, the Lakers obviously they don't have a good plan, and some of it's not in their own doing. Some of it is in their own doing, as far as how you sign these contracts, what you offer these guys, what happens in those years. You're paying Peter to, just you're robbing Peter to pay Paul later on, and you're not caring what you're doing down the road. It's just not good planning overall But again, it's hindsight is 2020, and you could say the foresight for Rob Pelinka is not that great. I think the problem for this organization starts there. You see, whether or not you like Budenholzer or not, Magic Man, it's clear that Phoenix had a plan. Okay, we're getting rid of Vogel because we're getting Budenholzer in there. We're going to offer him $10 million a year. Just crazy. They're paying him $10 million a year for 5 years, and then they're paying what Vogel another 4 years, 7-ish, I think, in that range. I think it's a 5-year 31.
Gerald,
It's about 6. I'm sorry,
if
6.
Matt Ishbia is willing to waste this kind of money in the NBA, can you just imagine what else he wastes?
And then
Like,
our options are now JJ Redick, who's never coached before, Kenny Atkinson, Borrego. You
name a cat JJ. You don't name a Lakers coach JJ.
it might be a Lakers coach, Magic Man. I mean, the options are not that great for us, unless you go back to the assistant coaches once again.
That irritable pissant, I do not want to see as a Lakers head coach. That little pissant, JJ Redick. And yeah, I'm calling him a pissant because
you might be calling him Coach Pissant because it's a very good opportunity. If LeBron wants him there, he'll be there, whether we like it or not. I don't even know if it's a good hire or a bad hire because again,
well,
I'm not Laker Tom that's going to tell you tomorrow because Laker Tom is coming here tomorrow.
At
least he's convinced he's already the next Pat Riley for us. So it is what it is.
Gerald, at least in that instance, we won't have to wait for Darvin Ham to draw up a play and then have LeBron dry erase it. LeBron will just ask JJ to give him the board.
Yeah. So it is what it is. I'm willing to give JJ a chance. We gave Darvin Ham a chance, but yeah, David Adelman, I know his name is but are you going to go through the assistant route again? Who the assistant coach tonight for Minnesota? People talked about him at length in regards to that. So are you going to go the assistant route again? Are you going to go the retread coach? Or are you going to go the unknown with JJ Redick? So again, these choices are just not overwhelming, I think, anyone at this point in time. So yeah. I don't know. It just at this point we're really a team and organization, Sean and Ray, with what's going on here. Do I think that Darvin Ham should have been fired? Yes, because obviously performance was not there. But again, they just do not seem to have a plan. Like, okay, we're gonna fire this coach, but we got this guy on our radar. We're gonna offer him, get him in here right away. So
yeah. I'm not buying it, Gerald.
Frank, would you really? Okay, let's say, Frank, again, I used this old adage the other day. What if you got fired from your job and you went somewhere else and you suddenly became available, but yet you're being paid for the next 4 years to just kick back and drink margaritas all day? And the team that you got, jerked around in the first place, they want you back. Oh, you do? Offer me plenty more zeros. There's another guy, if they want back, he could have all the control in Frank Vogel, but I don't think he wants back in Laker Town again.
No, Gerald. I believe he's from the Midwest. I'm not sure if it's Indiana or.
I think it was Indiana, if I'm not mistaken.
So I'd rather go back to Indianapolis.
4 years.
$31 million. He could just sit at home.
It's 5. It was 5 for 31. So it's a little over $6 million a year. So yeah, he's got like 24 million in 4 years to sit on and cruise if he wants.
Go home, have some Bud on Ice, maybe a whiskey sour.
Why would you want that stress, Frank? He wasn't even the first choice at Phoenix or Los Angeles. Why would you want any more stress in your life when you can get paid $24 million for the next 4 years?
To do nothing. Yeah.
To do nothing.
Like literally nothing. You can just sit at home and do nothing. and watch
I
the
was frank,
checks
I'd be
roll in.
like, I am tired of this bleep. And I just said, you know what? I've had enough. I've had enough. You, two organizations have done me dirty now. They've not given me a chance to coach the team. I was not the first choice with either team. I'm done with this. Unless maybe a Washington, which is now possibly looking into Darvin Ham, or a starter team that
Oh yeah,
has zero
Gerald, and
expectations.
we can't wait for Mike Budenholzer's drop coverage with Yusuf Nurkic. Oh, I can't wait to watch that
And
disaster.
I didn't say it was a great option to have Budenholzer as a choice for the Lakers, but it just seemed like Phoenix had a plan. When you signed a new coach, literally the next day after you fired one, you had at least a plan in mind. With the Lakers, it's scary because it just doesn't seem like they have a plan in mind, even short term or long term. It's just like they're playing everything always by ear.
Yeah, just a quick retort to M Easy
All about
BX.
Mark Jackson.
Yeah, no way. Unfortunately,
Well,
he's
the religious
if
stuff aside, I'm just going to give him the example that we give Sean in this, and I'll let you go ahead and finish up on it. The 2020 Game 6 in the bubble, where he soundly criticized before tip-off Frank Vogel, irony of all irony, his choice of starting Alex Caruso in Game 6 against Denver. And we all know how that worked out. The Lakers
Mhm,
destroyed Denver. Lakers destroyed Miami
mhm.
and won the championship in that game and made Mark Jackson look like a fool.
Yep.
But regardless, yes, I know he took Golden State way back when, over a decade ago, to success and a 50-win season. But there were certain things behind the scenes that did not endear him to the organization that he would have to change if he were to become a viable candidate for an NBA team again. Go ahead,
Yes,
John.
yeah, absolutely, Gerald. And it would have to be looked upon as not only sincere, but it would have to be basically a 180 degrees change from where he was. Because look, anybody can have any beliefs they want in America. That's what makes America the greatest country in the world. You could believe whatever you want to believe, but you're not entitled to your own set of facts, and you're definitely not entitled to be a bigot and also an NBA coach. You could be one or the other, but you can't be both as an NBA coach. And unfortunately, Mark Jackson has shown that he's very homophobic. And if you're homophobic, the last place in the NBA you will be a head coach is in Los Angeles. There's just no way in HELL hockey sticks Mark Jackson would find himself as a head coach with the belief system he has about gays.
Well, and that aside, again, also as well, and that's obviously something that would be put into context as well. Let's keep that importance on it. Joe, yeah, don't get me started on Joe on that one. But Andy says, why would we keep D'Lo? Blow the entire thing up again. With Joe, it's not necessarily wants to keep the player. Joe, to use Joe's quote, it's for asset management purposes, so that you have something to trade as far as let's just say a $20 million value. Let's just say inside.
But Joe thinks that just because you have something means you're going to get something in return. You might end up getting some magic beans for that D'Lo contract.
Because people say, oh yes, use the Vando contract, use the Gabe Vincent contract, both of them around 11 and $12 million, give or take.
Everybody watches them too. That's what Gerald's saying. Everybody watches them play too. It's 4-5 when Jared Vanderbilt plays on your
I
team.
think we get 3, Pale. That's a good question. Excellent question. I think we have 3 number 1 draft picks we can trade this summer. I think we get 3 we can utilize
Yes,
this summer.
yes.
So
After New Orleans makes their decision, yes.
yes, after they make their decision, we don't know exactly which 2020 this year or next year we could utilize, but those two, one of those two plus 2 more, we can utilize in a trade this summer. So
And if you're gonna do that, then you're definitely putting all the chips in, and you're calling. You're calling at that point. Everybody knows that Pelinka, the Lakers, they're calling.
Yeah, on those small chance that both LeBron and also as well D'Lo leave, AD would probably want to say, you know what, I want out because it's not going to work. And if that's the case, you would go into rebuild mode whether you like it or not.
And and if that happens, to be fair to everybody else, AD's contract has never been more valuable than it is right now. He just has come off a 77 game playing performance. He played admirably in the playoffs.
And he
Uh,
signed early.
le-
The thing was, he could have waited until this offseason and signed a bigger extension, but
so
he
you
chose
could
not to
get
because
a
he
lot
knows
of
his own body.
valuable, yeah, you could get a lot of valuable draft picks
Yeah.
plus a pretty good young player if you negotiated properly for a contract for AD. That's the only saving grace if the Lakers decided to just hit abort and
Hale,
decide.
that's a good question. Would you get five number ones for AD? I don't know. I know you could get, I think you could get four. I think you
Yeah,
could get four. I
yeah, I
think
think
people are very hesitant to do the Rudy Gobert amount. I think that
I think
what
he could get three plus a swap or two, Gerald. Yeah.
yeah, you could do that. I could see that. That's possible. But again, that's only if LeBron and D'Lo walk and AD just gets so frustrated with that he would say, you know what, I want out. That's only a what if. But um, Tyrone says, there's just people that are in the chat that are adamant that D'Lo will stay. I'm just telling you, D'Lo, again, he has the ability to walk out of his contract here at the end of June. He has the ability to walk out of the last year and final year of his contract. So he is available for whatever team that wants his services. And if that's the case, and there are other parties, now it worked in our favor last summer with Austin Reeves, where we assumed there was going to be more interest in him, and it didn't work out that way. So the Lakers kind of lowballed him and got a better deal ultimately for his services. Do you see that happening again for D'Lo, where he assumes that there's going to be more interest? We're assuming that there's going to be more interest than $18 million, which is what he currently would be walking away from out there in the marketplace. Do you see that happening, or do you see the possibility of maybe like Austin Reeves, where you assumed you were going to get more, you didn't get it, and you ultimately signed for less on a longer contract with the LA Lakers?
I'll answer that question first. I have a question for you, Gerald. A couple
Mm-hmm.
questions. You graduated from the great USC, correct?
Who?
You.
No, I only went to SC for a short period of time. I graduated from National University is where I got
You
my
took
degree.
it. You took a business class or two at USC.
Oh no, I wish if I would still be paying on that school loan today.
Okay,
That's what
Gerald.
that's would have been the first lesson in business class. Good luck, guys, because you're going to be paying for this class quite a
So
while.
Gerald, when there's a high demand for something but a low supply, what does that usually do to the marketplace?
Well, if there's demand, it usually goes up. The price goes up if there's demand. If there's not, then it's
So shooting is a skill, and teams value shooting.
and that's the
And
question Alan's bringing up is how much interest will there be in D'Lo? I mean, again, you're getting a player that's great
high
behind it.
demand, high demand, low supply. There's not a lot of shooting
Because this is
in
not
the
a great
NBA
free. It's
free
not a
agent
great. Yeah,
class
it's not a great free agent class this year. It is next year
next
as
year.
of now. So if you're going to acquire a player, let's say you don't acquire a player like D'Lo, there's not a lot of players that can shoot the three effectively that are in free agency. If that's the case, you'll have to trade assets for it. So again, it all depends on how you value D'Lo, a good regular
See,
season player that
and this,
has not
yeah,
been able to get it done
and this is
consistently in the
and
postseason.
Gerald's mentioned this team for an obvious reason, and I know that some some Laker fans
And
follow
that's
the
true,
NBA
Tyrell.
as, and some just follow the Lakers. The reason why Gerald's bringing up the Orlando Magic is because Gerald watches NBA basketball, and he knows, and I know that their best player, the piece de resistance of their
Mhm.
franchise, is Franz Wagner. The problem with Franz is he can't shoot right now, Gerald. He doesn't have a consistent outside shot.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I
Gerald
feel bad for
knows
the kid because that
that
was
there
that
yeah,
yeah, I really feel bad for the kid.
and Gerald knows that they do have a defensive stalwart and a future defensive player of the year, Jalen
He looked
Suggs.
like he just got dumped by his
Yeah,
girlfriend at that
yeah,
when at
yeah.
that press conference. That was sad.
And Markel Fultz is he can't shoot. And
Marco Fultz is yeah.
Cole Anthony coming off the bench. So there's an obvious need for shooting in Orlando because
And Jalen Suggs, I love, but he's a gamer, and he plays probably as good a defense in the backcourt as anyone out there, but he can't shoot. He,
can't shoot.
can't shoot yet.
And Orlando still managed to be a top
Yes.
six,
Yeah.
a top six seed in the East with no shooting outside of Mo Wagner. That
I'm
was
gonna
the
look
only
up
guy.
his contract right now. Go ahead,
But
Sean. I'm sorry.
yeah, but anyway, that's a team that would value D'Angelo Russell shooting because Franz Wagner needs at least another year in the gym, in Mosley's system, where he feels confident enough to shoot the three. And Gerald knows, and a lot of other analysts know that they're going to be linked to D'Angelo Russell. The Orlando Magic will be linked to D'Angelo Russell. It doesn't necessarily mean it's signed there, but they'll be linked to him. Quite frankly, the San Antonio Spurs, again, another team that really had a tough time this year with outside shooting because Victor Wembanyama cannot average 4 or 5 3-point attempts per game, Gerald. He's just too valuable. You need to get him in the box and on the low block to maximize what you have. And in order to do that, you need shooting because he's going to, if you put him on the box or on the block, he's going to demand double teams and somebody's going to have to hit open shots. And again, not a lot of shooting left on in free agency. D'Angelo Russell's there. And
Tyrone, that's a good point. They might take Malik Monk. He's another name of a shooter slash scorer that's out there as well. So we'll see. I mean, I just think it's not, you cannot say it's going to be a foregone conclusion he will return to the Lakers.
I would seriously doubt Malik Monk leaves the Sacramento Kings. They're going to resign him, Gerald.
Frank, that's a good point. Excellent point, Frank. Because the fact that Laurie Markkinen is going to be a very wanted individual. Utah, we don't even know which direction they're really going into. And Danny Ainge could say, you know what, he is probably my most valuable asset. To trade him for a Franz Wagner because you're buying on the upside. We understand how bad he shot in the playoffs, but with Franz Wagner, I think that kid, I would not
I
selling
wouldn't
low.
trade him. Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
trade him. I wouldn't trade him.
Oh, you're
It's
welcome,
too
Jamal. Yeah, for Darvin Ham, just for audio listeners out there, he was signed to a 4-year, $20 million contract. So he has 2 years and 10 million, according to Sam Amick, who reported on that at the time. So Tyrone Buddy Heel can go to Orlando for 18 million. You could say that. Again, you're talking defense is not really as much of an issue with a guy like D'Angelo Russell or Buddy Hield going to Orlando because they have a lot of defense in
like
Orlando to make up for it, Magic Man.
and absolutely, Gerald. And to be fair to Dennis Schroeder, who won MVP in the FIBA championship game, Franz Wagner was Germany's best player throughout the tournament.
I really think he's going to play well in Paris. I really think
Yes.
Franz. I think he's going to. I think he it's the type of thing that really hits you hard. The way he played, it's actually one of the worst shooting performances in playoff history, I believe, if I'm not
Ye-
mistaken. Yeah, so I really think he will be. That's the kind of thing you just saw that it's going to motivate him to do better. So I wouldn't say
100%.
totally abandon if you're Orlando out there. Now, one of these days I got to talk to Alfred about this. If you're you're selling low on Franz Wagner, but Franz for Lowry, that may not be such a bad deal for both parties concerned.
Yeah, no, not at all. But we need to remember something is that Laurie Markkinen is extension eligible, and it if you're trading for him, you have to understand is that if you are going to secure his rights, he's going to want
That's a good question, Jamal. That's a He said, what about packaging Rui, Gabe, JHS 2 first, 3 seconds, and 3 seconds for Lowry? Would Danny go for that? That's the thing. I
yeah,
know if you're
would
Laker
he?
Tom, he would just scoop that on up.
Yeah,
Would
yeah, yeah.
would Danny like that? Because you got to remember Oklahoma City, and that's one team we didn't mention. We talked about Orlando, we talked about San Antonio. What they need in Orlando, in Oklahoma City right now,
Beef. That's what they need. Chet
they need
Holmgren's
beef,
150 pounds.
but they need someone to replace Josh Giddey at the point guard position because they're already using Isaiah Joe. They already had him out in the second half starting. There's a good possibility they may do the swap at some point in time in the postseason, but Isaiah Joe is not a regular starting guard. A D'Angelo Russell might be a better fit there as far as a guy who can, take some shots and give some help to SGA. Just putting that out there. Putting it out there.
SGA doesn't
But they
care
do
about
need beef. They do need beef. I give you that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. SGA doesn't care about shooting threes.
But D'Lo does, and
D'Lo does.
stretching the floor is something that he does.
If
For
you
all the flack that he gets, he can stretch the floor on offense. The problem is, we ask a lot of him as a number 3 out there with OKC. Maybe that stress of being, whatever he's go out there for wouldn't be at that high of a level. Who knows?
exactly, Gerald. Um,
Are you talking about DeJounte Murray? No Joker? So it's just throwing it out there. Again, they do need beef first and foremost. Frank will tell you that Dallas is beating up poor Holmgren.
yeah, they have no beef. They
And
need
you
some
got to
beef.
keep on getting that the production from 3 and 4 spot. If you get that, then you guys are gonna win in 5. But
Hmm.
that
Yes,
if
but I mean,
PJ and TJ keep playing like that, then yeah.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it. That's decent option. You could play D'Lo with SGA and Jalen Williams, and
I'm gonna look up his defensive rating right now for DeJounte Murray because I know that he's still what was it? StatMuse has him at a 119.4. It's right there. Although that again,
make,
Atlanta is a terrible defensive team, so I'll let
making the face Buzz's girlfriend made from Home Alone.
yeah. 119 by 0.4. So there you go.
Not good. Not good, ladies and gentlemen. That's giving up.
Oh yeah, that's
100.
about the same. Yeah, D'Lo's wasn't much better. I'm not going to sit here and tell you differently, but that's again part of the problem of D'Angelo Russell in the playoffs. I'm not worried about the regular season with D'Angelo Russell. It's what he does in the playoffs for you.
Yeah, per 100 possessions, DeJounte Murray gives up 119 points.
Yeah. And a lot of that is scheme, Magic Man. And so the scheme obviously in Atlanta didn't work this season. So maybe that's a little misleading. D'Angelo is 118.1, but would you consider DeJounte Murray a worse defensive player than D'Angelo Russell? Most people would probably say no. But
no,
again,
the eye test would likely tell you no. That being said, Gerald, let's be perfectly blunt. individual defense isn't important anymore. It's not that valuable of a commodity anymore, Gerald. How many good individual defenders are there in the NBA right now, Gerald? Name them off the top of your head.
I mean, in this league, there's only a few. That's in the playoffs right now. There's only a few, but even if that's the case, you can set screens. This reliance on switching, nobody wants to stay at home anymore. They just, as soon as they get a screen, and you saw this tonight in the Minnesota game, where Minnesota just, my God, they went from a team that was gang defensive, just swarming, hovering defense, to a team that, my gosh, are just going around one screen for Jokic. They easily got picked off and made it absolutely easy for Murray to get good
You know
looks.
what else is annoying, Gerald? And I guarantee you it annoys coaches more so than I do because they actually watch it every day in practice. There is a distinct pattern that has been going on in the NBA for the past 2 years that I don't like. Do you know what it is? It is point guards or playmakers running sets or running actions before a screen is actually set. That is wrong, kids. That is wrong, coaches. Anybody listening out there, you do not run a set or run an action before the pick or the screen is set. It's bad news. You're either late, creates a mismatch on one side of the floor, or you either end up flooding the middle of the floor. It is bad. It's bad offense, it's bad scheme, and it never works. Tyrese Halliburton had that problem in game one against the Knicks. Jokic had that problem in game two against the Wolves. I've seen SGA have that problem. Lucas had that problem since he's come into the NBA. You do not run an action or set up or run a set before a screen is set, Gerald. It's bad. It's lazy too because you think you have either the athleticism or the smarts more so than an NBA head coach, and you don't because an NBA head coach would see that happening if I could see it happening. If you're running an action or set before the pick is set, I'm gunning for you right away. We're like velociraptors. We're coming at you from east and west, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do because you just flooded the box, and I'm going to take advantage of it. It's going to be a turnover, a bad pass, or a deflection, something, and it's terrible offense, Gerald, and it makes for a bad game.
Cam Reddish, just let you know, he has a player option. Was it for 2.5? Is it 2.4 million? I think for an option. Yeah, Tyrone says Cam will stay because nobody wants him. But you're saying he's going to be better. I don't know. We got a full year of Cam. Hopefully that will be the case. Maybe he'll be less injured. Maybe that'll lead to better play from him. Vando, he has to find some semblance of an offensive game. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty ugly for him. And paying him $11 million a year for a guy that only can play one side of the floor it's going to get more noticeable as time goes on. And when it comes to Max, you know what? I know Joe keeps insisting that he's not an NBA player. I know that Stone Hansen keeps insisting he's not an NBA player. I do eventually think, and I was corrected, he is 21 years old, and he will be or has the option by the team with a $2.4 million tender to be a restricted free agent. So the Lakers do have the control in this situation.
And
I do think he
yeah,
can become a rotation player eventually in the league. I
yeah.
don't know if the Lakers will have the patience to see that.
Gerald. Normally, Stone is very sound and apt in his analysis, and
That's the
Joe
one
is,
I think I kind of disagree with
and
him.
Joe is for the most part too. But I mean, I counter that to those two gentlemen. Were you a complete person at age 21? And they would say no. So to that, I'd say, Well, at the age of 21, you're not a complete player as of yet either, Gerald. And I agree with you. I think he's going to carve out a role for himself somewhere. It just might not be with the Lakers, but I think there is still the skeleton of a pretty good rotational player there.
And there's no hate for us when it comes to for me from comes from D'Lo. Magic Man just wants to go on and move from other options is what I'm determining when it comes to D'Lo. D'Lo, for me, again, he's a good regular season player, can shoot behind the arc, doesn't give you much on the defensive end, pretty good playmaker. But in the annals of when you're talking about the playoffs, he's just not been able to get it done consistently or not anywhere close. And the thing is, if you want him as your number 3, you might be paying him as your number 3 player if the marketplace dictates it when he becomes a free agent this summer. So if you re-sign him, you may be inclined to, or you might have to re-sign him at a price well above $20 million.
What's
the possibility? I didn't
What's
say it was
Chrissy's qualifying offer this year, Gerald?
2.4. I think 2.5 or something right around there. Yeah.
I don't think anybody would offer him more than
Tyrone,
that.
you cannot tell me just you say 17 points per game. Tell me, he had 2 good games in this year's playoffs out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
From your number 3 guy, obviously, as we can say, it didn't get the job done. Last year, he gave you up and down performances in the first 2 rounds. He gave you bursts where he was playing well, and then he gave you bursts when he was not playing so well in both of those series against Memphis and Golden State. And then he got really schemed off the floor against Denver in the Western Conference Finals. So that's your number 3 player, Tyrone. Okay, 17 points a game in the playoffs. You're looking at it the right way. You got to look at it game by game. How many games did we get the D'Lo we needed to get? And we got it in 2 of the 5. 2 of the 5. He had 2 20-point games.
I was thinking one of the past 9.
No, I think he played well in 2 of the 5 games.
Okay, I'm going to say 1 out of the 9 that he played so far against Denver in the playoffs, but fair enough.
And I'm not sitting here, I'm not going to defend LeBron either. Again, you've got a guy that you're about ready to pay, as Eric said, what, 100 and, 50, or actually 50 starts at $54 million a year for a guy that's going to turn 40. I don't feel comfortable. I don't have those warm fuzzies doing, when you tell me that. Okay, I understand LeBron James is one of the greatest players of all time. Where you put him, that's up to you. But again, I don't have the warm fuzzies over that. But again, that's not under my control. That's not under your guys' control. It's LeBron and D'Lo have all the control on where they want to go and where they want to stay this summer. Magic Man.
100%, Gerald, and we're dealing with multiple issues.
And Pale, we could agree on that. 1.5 good games out of 9 for D'Lo in Denver.
Rui and D'Lo are hot and cold players. Mm-hmm. Austin Reeves and LeBron James do not have the stamina at the end of games. They're both gassed out for different reasons, but they both of them run out of gas. So really, the only consistent player you have on your roster that could play both ends for about 42, 45 minutes a game in the playoffs is Anthony Davis. And you need at least 4 if you want to be a championship team. You need 4 guys who can do that. You can get away with 3. The Mavericks got away with 3 in 2011, but you usually need 4.
And Jamal,
and right now the Lakers only have 1.
Yeah, but Jamal said it right now. Rui, he was not giving you what he needed to give you this playoffs, but last year, for the most part, in those first 2 rounds, he was sensational. But Rui, that's his whole entire career, is consistently inconsistent. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that the Lakers have to got to figure out.
Rui is a paradox, Gerald.
Yeah.
That's kind of, he's the basketball paradox.
Yeah. And Alan, I agree. He does need more shots, but what he was given, he didn't do good enough.
Rui felt like Gerald, normally when his mid range is on, his shoulders are parallel to the bucket. It just felt like his mid range was off all year long. His mid range was solid when we picked them up at the trade deadline, and he improved on that because he learned to shoot 10 to 12 feet outside of his comfort zone comfortably well until the Denver series. That being said, I mean he needs to get back to that mid range Rui.
That's true. And of course, I would agree with Alan. They didn't always give him enough shots. I will agree with you on that. But uh, let me go back into the box scores for the games that he played. Let's see how well he did. He had 7 points in game one. He had game two. He had 3 points in game two. He had in game three, he had, bringing that up right now. He had game three, he had 5 points. So I don't, do I need to go on to game four and game five? I'll do it anyways. Game four. Game four, he had, you bring that up here. I'm going to bring that up right now. And then we're going to close on out, my friend. Game four, he had 9 points. And then game five, what did he do for us in game five, Magic Man?
What's in it? 2 points?
No, 15. That was his best game.
Okay. So excuse me.
So he scored in double figures once.
That was game two.
Oh, how many shots? Again, Al, I'm not disagreeing with you on the shots, but again, part of that is if you're out there for 30 minutes, you better be asking for more shots. Part of that is him as well. Part of that is the scheme. Part of that is coach. But again, when you're only averaging, less than 10 points a game, some of it is the scheme, some of it's him, and some of it's the players that are not recognizing him to get him more shots.
Yeah, but I mean, quite frankly, aside from Taylor Jenkins, I don't think anybody really, over
and pales at, but you're including last year's, especially with those last two rounds. So he is an inconsistent player. It's just who he is. He has never been able to stay consistent for long stretches. When he became a starter, I think when he became a starter here, that's the longest stretch he played consistently. And again, the 2 rounds when he was playing. But again, we needed him. We needed D'Lo, and we just didn't get enough done.
And quite frankly, Gerald, as we sign off for the night, just one final thought.
Okay.
To quote Jerry Springer, with or without D'Lo, with or without you. Shout out you too. Anyway, there is no guarantee you're going to get a better effort from these Lakers players with a new coach coming in, especially if it's somebody like JJ Redick. Because JJ Redick is not Newt Rockne. He's not Vince Lombardi. He's not Pat Riley. He's not going to inspire the troops to pour out their guts, run into a brick wall. That's just not going to happen. If anybody needs a good example, for the majority of the second half of the season, Gerald, the Memphis Grizzlies played with 10-day contract players. And they played their asses off for Taylor Jenkins. Who knows what kind of motivational techniques he uses, schemes. But the fact is, they played their guts out for him. And they had less talent than the Lakers did in their fingertips. And yet, there wasn't a coach, either from Ham or on the staff, that inspired these guys to give a you-know-what. So what does anyone out there think that JJ Redick or somebody else can do that Darvin Ham didn't do, especially with these overpaid guys with an attitude who think they can come and go as they please.
Right, it's just not
Ask
looking
yourself that.
pretty. It's just not looking pretty as far as us building the team, getting a coach. None of this looks pretty, at least on the surface. So we're hoping that something else will materialize that we're not seeing right now, and that will actually make this team better going forward. That's what I'm hoping, and at least we'll report on it here. I do know that Pale Fox asked you if I think he asked you, was Murray's worst series ever was against the Lakers in the last round, besides the 2 clutch shots, of course.
I thought he had a worse shooting performance. Um, his rookie season, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think it was. I think
I'd
it
have
was
to
a
look
little
that up.
worse. Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he shot worse against the Warriors.
I'll take a look at as far as his postseason. I'm looking on Basketball Reference, so I'll do that now.
I think it was worse against the Warriors than that. So I could be wrong, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, he let me see. Did he play against the Warriors? I'm checking now because his first year was 2019. He played against the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh,
and the
sorry, the
Portland-
Spurs. Yeah, the Spurs,
Okay,
not the
so the Spurs.
Warriors. My
Okay.
bad.
Shot 34. Excuse me. Overall, I think it was the Portland Trailblazers. He shot 40% overall from the field.
But it was
against
close.
Portland.
So Reeves did his damnedest against him.
Actually, he did shoot worse against the Lakers in that first round. If 40% on the dot overall,
Okay.
as opposed to 40.3 against the Portland Trailblazers. So yes, to answer your question, Pale, that was the worst he has ever shot in a round. So, although he has improved, he is currently. I don't know. They have not calculated in today's game where he was shooting very well, so he may have gotten above 40% for the series against Minnesota. So we'll see.
Okay.
But again, good games today for the Denver Nuggets and also the Indiana Pacers getting back in the series. Before we go, I'll answer a couple more questions. Again, Frank, good luck to your Nuggets. Good luck to your Mavericks. Excuse me. Yes. Yeah, they did a good job as far as playing defense against him, but ultimately it wasn't enough to get the job done. So, Alan says, Gerald, how close are we from the final years of Kobe being the same for LeBron? I remember Kobe would score and he had to take a lot of shots. Yeah, remember how many shots it took for that 60 points on his final game and dominate the ball at the end. I know if you even suggest, Alan, it's like sacrilege that Kobe signing that last contract was not something that hindered the team going forward or at that time from building a team, building a better team, excuse me. If you suggest that, even though maybe you could say that that's a possibility. I mean, but with LeBron signing a possible contract of a very large number, we could see history repeating itself.
Yeah, we could. We could, Gerald. We could.
Good. It's a good point, Alan. Yeah. Bloodhound says the last contract was an employee bonus. Yeah. It was a loyalty contract. Absolutely. No one here is going to say differently. For him being such a pillar of the Lakers community for all those years, they gave him that "We love you, Kobe" contract. Absolutely. And how could you not? This last contract for LeBron could be a "We love you, LeBron" contract. But the problem is you have to pay for it on the back end, pay for it by not being able to build your team sometimes the way you want to. And there are consequences to that. So does LeBron deserve that loyalty contract?
No.
I don't think he does, but that's not our choice, is it? It's ultimately the guy who had Jeannie on one arm and Linda on the other. You guys have all the questions on LeBron should stay or LeBron should go. And I'm just always going to default you guys to the look I saw live when I saw them laughing it up and him having that, just like in Alice in Wonderland with the Cheshire Cat with that grin he had on there, just like a man who knew he had control of the entire situation going forward.
Absolutely, Gerald.
Well,
Absolutely.
Bloodhound, they'll always sell tickets because of the purple and gold, but you're right. The demand, how high will the demand be? How low will the demand be? There's going to be a difference if LeBron does leave. I'm not going to say it differently, but there will always be a demand just because of the purple and gold. You don't win 17 championships and not have some sort of following that people are going to go ahead and buy tickets for. But I understand. I get what you're saying, that it wouldn't be as much as if LBJ doesn't sign on the dotted line. So I get you.
Oh, and by the way, Blood, I hope you enjoyed that first game against the Panthers. Hope you enjoyed it, because the next two are going to be even brutal than the last two.
Tyrone, any team would be crazy to draft Bronny right now, but it may be just the Lakers are that crazy because they have a pick at 57.
Gerald,
Henry, bite your tongue on that one.
He's not an NBA ready caliber player.
No. M-Easy, what are their plans for Jalen Hood-Schifino? Well, he had back surgery. He had back surgery at what did we say earlier? 20 years old? A back surgery at 20 years old.
Yes. Your back is shot at 20.
That's not good. That's not good.
How about playing 100 minutes in a month rather than in a whole season?
Cam Whitmore actually outscored him in one game than he did an entire season.
Exactly.
And I think it was the game that he played against the Lakers.
Yes.
As I met for so
yes.
Yeah.
He averaged 5.2 minutes a game, Gerald. 5.2 in 21 games.
Now, Alan, you make a good point. Maybe he can become the next MPJ. Joel Embiid, they had serious. Joel had back issues too, correct? If I'm not mistaken, earlier in his career.
Yes, but to Alan, that's a good point. The fact is, though, MPJ was considered a top, and Gerald will know this too, considered a top 3, possibly a number 1 overall pick.
Well, he was a top 5. Back. Yeah, before he injures back, he was a top 3 to top 5 pick. JHS, we weren't expecting obviously that to happen, and again, I'm rooting for the kid. I'm hoping I'm proven wrong. I hope Pale Fox can come back here a year from now and say, "Hey, Gerald, you were absolutely dead wrong on JHS." Because he is a draft bust right now, and there are expectations when you spend that kind of draft pick, which is what, $3 or $4 million. How much does he make right now?
I believe it's a little over 4. I think he was the 17th pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's over 4.
Yeah.
Well, $4 million you're just spending on him. You're investing on him for 3 or 4 years that you're signing him to. So. Not getting off to a great start, and I'll just leave it at that.
And Gerald, should be noted, MPJ had multiple
3.6, just under 3.7, just to let you know. So
if we we'll
probably go up to 4.
That's just not to mention what they're paying for in the tax. It's probably inflated a little bit, but
I would go with THT. If I would given the choice, JSJ, I would go definitely with THT, because THT has at least been able to score in this league, and they're both around the same age. I understand that he may never get out of what he's doing in Utah, or if he's not even going to stay with Utah. We don't even know that yet, but I would choose THT over JHS right now.
And Gerald, let's be honest. When it comes to backs,
I would be happy. I would be ecstatic, Alan.
It could go one way or the other. MPJ had great success after back surgery. So did Brooke Lopez.
And the thing is,
Bill Walton. But
and if I'm proven wrong, if you were proven wrong,
Ben Simmons did not. Ben Simmons regressed after back
Ben
surgery.
Simmons at the Met Gala holding up a suitcase with a clock on it. Yeah.
Was
But
he?
something with
Seriously?
a clock design on the suitcase. Yeah. Just look up Ben Simmons and Met Gala and you'll see.
What a
But
weird
you know what,
guy.
Alan? I'm hoping I'm wrong. I am hoping that I'm wrong. It's to our benefit. The Lakers will field a better team if he becomes a better player. So how do I lose in this situation? I don't. So
That's
I'm
right.
hoping I'm proven wrong. I'm hoping JHS becomes something more than a draft bust.
Yeah, I hope so too, because we need it in the worst possible way.
Yeah. But the no joker, and I only say that I would choose THT over JHS because the fact is he's played NBA games and has scored in NBA games. JHS hasn't done anything to this point, and I'm not sure if he will. Yeah, it's just right there.
Like, can we just see him be healthy?
Yeah.
Because
I'm not saying I love THT as a player. I certainly did. Obviously, hindsight, we all wanted Alex Caruso to stay instead of THT, and you saw where that one went.
yeah, THD listed as 6'4", actually 6'2".
No joker. Yeah, it's a real unknown upside at this point. It's real. I don't think even he knows what that upside is. I don't even think the Lakers know what that upside is. And that's part of the problem. If you've already spent a year with the team and the team has absolutely no clue what to do with you or how you'll proceed going forward, I'm hoping he'll be healthy enough to at least get some more touches at Summer League. Maxwell Lewis definitely needs to do that.
Oh,
Because
and Gerald, let's not fool ourselves either. If you're a second-year player, you should be dominating kids at
well, we
Summer
saw that with
League.
Max Christie, but we thought that was going to translate into success over the course of the season. But we saw how that
It didn't. Some players it does, though. I mean, Brandon Ingram played one game, and
yeah, I remember those famous words. Yeah, that Henry. Yep, him of the training camp MVP. I read it was talking about training camp, him being so successful. Yeah, how'd that work out? So how'd that work out? And on that note, I've been here over 2 hours, a lot longer than I anticipated. So I just appreciate everyone being here. Tomorrow at noon, the Lakerholics will be here. I will not be here. The Lakerholics will be here. Sean, if you want to hitch a ride with them, just let me know. Otherwise, it will be the Lakerholics crew. They are going to be around. I think L. Rob, Jamie, and Laker Tom will be here talking about the NBA playoffs and, of course, Laker Tom's new fascination that JJ Redick is his now, and he will probably tell you for an hour why he is the next Pat Riley. And if you think I'm kidding, just go to @LakerTom on Twitter, and you'll see that that's what he now believes. So if that's the case,
but
you'll be here.
We can't tell Tom that he's wrong about that because it's yet to be proven.
Yeah, to be proven. So you don't know. He could be. It's just amazing though, how he goes from one end to the other. Cause like, I don't know. Then next week, oh, you know what? He could become the next Pat
Tom's
Riley.
on the spectrum when it comes to Redick, like a lot of people.
Yes, that's for sure. I listened to his podcast. You never know. I think now he could be a really good coach. But anyways, I digress. I don't know if he'll be a good coach. Again, we have to, most likely we'll see it at this point because the choices are running out for the Lakers as far as viable options. But Mika Nori, at least give him an interview. David Adelman, at least give him an interview.
Charles Lee would rather coach the Charlotte Hornets than coach the Los Angeles Lakers, ladies and gentlemen.
And Easy, I was there for Wemby's first summer league game. I was in the Thomas and Mack. The anticipation for that was tremendous. So yes, again, I'm going to give JJ a chance. I'll just see realistically. I mean, he talks a good game. He's a pretty good analyst from what I'm seeing. I listened to him quite a bit in this early evening game. I wanted to hear how he evaluates the game. It may be very well that he does get the job, but again, without any real viable options that you're limiting yourself on, it is what it is, and we'll see. It goes from there. But like Joe says, it's all who LeBron and AD have respect for as a coach, because it's clear that they did not have respect for Darvin Ham, and a lot of that was deserved. But
And honestly, like if we're evaluating a coach and the best kind of coach on whether or not LeBron or AD respects him, we are not focusing on the right.
I'm just not overjoyed. Yeah,
We're not focusing on the right roles and responsibilities that an NBA basketball coach should have. If
I am
that's
not
the first
excited.
priority,
I'm
if
not
that is the
excited
first
or over.
priority,
Yes, yes, I agree. And I'm not excited or overjoyed about any of these coaching candidates. I'm just going to be honest with any you guys. Just none of them uh, move the needle, for me. So,
nope, I agree.
but once again, it is the Lakers fast break again tomorrow. The Lakerholics will be here at high noon. So please go ahead and why hasn't Lou signed an extension? Yeah, Ty Lue, he hasn't, but he has another year on his contract, Henry. He's a 25, I think it's 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
He is not out after the season. He is out after 25, 26. Jeff Van Gundy needs a job right now. So you never know. Although
Well, you know
he's
what,
still,
Gerald? If we sign Jeff Van Gundy, you can guarantee we won't get out of the first round of the playoffs because he never did.
oh, that's harsh. I think he was waiting for that one, MET. I think you set him up on that one. But it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. Everybody, I think, is hitting the bed time soon because it is 11, closing in on 11:30 here on the West Coast. So again, we appreciate you staying up late with us. We had a pretty good crowd tonight. Again, appreciate Magic Man Sean Andretti, aka Magic Man Sean Grice, who was zooming around this week. You said a McLaren, was it, that you were driving around in?
McLaren 750S, Gerald. Oh my God,
Dang!
it was beautiful.
Look at you.
More horsepower than a Hellcat and third of the weight. Oh my goodness,
Jeez.
that was
And,
fun.
and
That
I
was a lot of fun.
and I just enjoy driving my Honda CRV. So what can I say? It is, of course, the Lakers fast break. It is Magic Man Sean Grice along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. We'll also be on playback.tv/ Lakers fast break, following along the game with Frank that he's going to be interested in as far as Dallas and OKC. We'll be having that on playback.tv/ Lakers fast break. Hopefully Nick, Sean, maybe the guys can join us there. But you'll also have another great selection in the Lakerholics at 12. And then later tomorrow, I heard a rumor that John Costa wants to do his own show and hijack the channel as well. So make sure you check out all that great stuff. I know it's the off season for us, but we're trying hard to keep it interesting for you. And we do appreciate our arguments aside with the chat. The best Laker chat room that's out there can only be had and only be found always right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.